everyone, Comic Reviewer here, this time reviewing on the Powerpuff Girls, issue number 50. Now, I think Deja View is pretty much everyone's favourite comic issue. Now, there have been like fan art, fan pictures, and so on. Now, originally this comic was meant to be an episode for the 1998 Powerpuff Girls series. That was later canned and was moved on to the Powerpuff Girls movie. Now, I had pointed out in my Powerpuff Girls movie review a year ago, and I finally got the issue for £2 at a charity shop. So the cover you have Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup looking at their evil counterparts, much like the Crime Syndicate from DC Comics and the Negaverse and Darkwing Duck. It starts off with, "The city of Townsville could use some tidying up by the citizens of Townsville are up to the task, including Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup, the Powerpuff Girls." So pretty much Blossom says to keep cleaning, and Buttercup says the sooner they do, they'll get their allowance. So Bubbles starts cleaning until she sees a little mark, and suddenly it gets bigger, and in her rage, this gets annoyed, and they're like, "Aren't you done yet, Bubbles?" "Yeah, come on, time is money." "I'm trying! This dumb mirror won't come clean." "Just put a little more elbow grease into it." "Ew, what's that gonna help?" What she means is scrub harder. So she does, and eventually they realize to their shock that it's a gateway to another dimension. I'm actually surprised this never came to the girls or Utonium to ever have found out about this sooner or later. So, rather than getting the professor to come to see what's going on, they get jumped into a portal and end up into a kind of more dark version of their room. And they're like, "Where are we? What happened to our room? I don't think this is our room." "You're not Octi." So they think they've now are in an alternative dimension, and Blossom reassures that the professor will figure something out. Until the professor walks by, he's like, "Great balls of fire! A vortex leading to a parallel universe of some sort. I've got to do something." So yeah, rather than, I don't know, see where the girls are, he pretty much thinks, "Yeah, I'm going to cover it up," and says, "Well, that takes care of that." And so Blossom believes that he'll figure it out. So they hear something, and they see that it's Mojo Jojo, and the girls head off, unaware of a big fortress version of their house. And we see Mojo Jojo, and they're like, "That's right, Monkey Boy, and don't, just like always, we're taking you down." And so they beat the crap out of Mojo's robot until they see that this isn't their Mojo, this is meant to be their universe version. So pretty much he manages to sap the girls and also pretty much looks on without questioning why they look so different. So Professor Utonium sees the girls and says that he went into their room. They're like, "You were in our room? You should not enter our room, ever! It's rude!" And so they hear something going on. They're like, "It's a monster attacking our city! We gotta stop it!" And so, unlike the main Powerpuff Girls, who are not as violent, they end up beating the merciful crap out of the monster. And they pretty much then trash the town, where the citizens look in horror, asking what's happened to them. And so the girls wake up, and we see the kind of Powerpunk Girls version of Mojo saying, "At last, I have you, Powerpunk Girls, and your reign of terror is at an end. You will terrorize us no more. Enough with the terrorizing." So he pretty much questions stuff, and so he says, "What did you say?" Excuse me, there may be some mistake. Excuse me, what is with the polite use of excuse me? Shouldn't you be making with the hitting and the hurting and the breaking out of the cage? So he pretty much gives him a trivial question, and he realizes this isn't the Powerpuff Girls. So he pretty much explains that in his version of Townsville was a peaceful city until their version of Professor Utonium, known as Professor Plutonium, showed up, and even having his own Powerpuff Girls known as Berserk, Brat, and Brute, with presumably their Mojo Jojo being the only hero, without other ones like him, or Fen Fatale, Princess, Seducer, and all that. And so he has an idea to have them help him, and so they do offer to help, but they do want to go home. Meanwhile, in the Powerpuff Girls' own dimension, the Powerpuff Girls are causing more mayhem and damage. So they decide to go on, and they head into where Professor Utonium is, and he's like, about time. I was wondering when you'd trying to overthrow me today. And so he pretty much blasts Bubbles, and despite his advantages, Jojo manages to hit Professor Utonium on the head. And so he points out that his scientists will work out a way to help. And so we've got his version of Fuzzy Lunkin and the Nemo Boys. Instead of them being idiots in this dimension, they're meant to be scientists, where they say, you see, the field became polarized, causing the... And so they pretty much head off, and they say, goodbye, girls. So they make it back to where Townsville is, in ruins, and they're like, we happened! And so the Powerpuff Girls meet their evil counterparts. They're like, nice looks, but it could use an update. And blue, and maybe black. Oh, Beams, please. We invented that. Besides, we prefer the hands-on approach. And so the Powerpuff Girls can't beat them since they're their counterparts, but they manage to trick them into flying back into their world. Into their world. And they end up back to where they are, back in their version of Townsville. They're like, no fair, they cheated! That's okay, we can still bust up Vart's town. Come on, girls, it's time to business as usual. I beg to differ. There are going to be changes around here. And so the ending has, with the typical, twice again the day is saved, thanks to the Powerpuff Girls. So yeah, this is the story. So what do I think of Deja View? This is actually a pretty good story, and it's a shame it never got made into an episode. And it's a shame that Craig McCracken and the others couldn't make it into a season final, or kind of, into an actual episode. But I get it, sometimes there are things on the cutting room floor. So what I think? Definitely a good story, and definitely something interesting. So I give it a good thumbs up. Still good, and still alright. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.